Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vex Warfield. I am Vex, your host. Tonight, I'm going to bring on Sean Stryker, and we're going to talk about a few different things. Hopefully, answer some questions of anybody who has in chat. Um, Basically, going over the basics. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and bring Sean on up here, and we'll get this sucker started. Hello, Sean. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening. How are you reading me? Are we 5x5 still?
5x5, at least by me. If you guys in chat see or know of any audio difficulties, let us know. We had a little bit of a tech issue beforehand, so any help would be uh, appreciated. So,
Yep, that's what I get for using foreign-made cell phone. We don't have any made here in the States no more. So there you go. I'd be Someone's making one here in the States, I'd be in the market for that.
yeah, that's actually a good point right there. We could start off with. I was just telling Sean earlier because he was complaining about his phone and how it was acting. Um, that I think everybody should get used to not using their phones for everything. Um, you got to get away from this because they have the phones that, with every update. They have those phones locked down. They know everything that's going on with them. And the more we use them, the more we allow them into our personal lives. I mean, what there is left of our personal lives anyway, because of everything being online and such, at least in that regard. So I was encouraging, go get a cheap pawn shop laptop. Just as long as it has a decent processor in it, you're good to go. I mean, as much as Sean is on the move, I mean that might be a good deal for him, and it comes in a nice little carrying case. What do you think,
Well,
Sean?
you have to be careful. You don't want to wind up with Hunter's laptop. Oh my gosh. Uh, Bad thoughts out. Bad thoughts out. Yeah, that's just I feel sorry for that shop owner. And yes, I quickly turned the conversation that far sideways. Sorry, folks. You're early, you get the better humor. Later, I get dry. But the phone thing here, the updates that Vex referenced and I referenced earlier when we were offline was they put in things that are literally called planned obsolescence. They want to make your phone that you bought, you signed a contract, you signed insurance for it, they eventually want to make it obsolete. So you have to buy the newest model with all the bells and whistles. Never mind, you don't need the bells and whistles. So that's done not just in phones, it's done in the auto industry, it's done in several other industries to essentially force you to continue being a customer. Now, the way Vex and myself were raised, we're at the tail end of that era where American steel and American products were made to last. The old Fords from the 70s and 60s, the muscle cars, they're still kicking around the streets. Same for the Chevys and the Dodges. And people are like, oh, wow, that car, if it takes an accident, you're going to live. You look at that car and you're like, that car, it gets great gas mileage in terms of power. It may guzzle through a lot of gas, but you're going to get where you're going fast. And then on top of that, you look at it as a quality product. The body design, there's nothing like good old American products that are made in America. But when you look at the stuff we have today, yeah, it's made in America with parts we got on an assembly line in China that they shipped to America to slap together at the end of the process. And that goes for a lot of our products. And the planned obsolescence is to encourage you to buy more and more products like that, products that don't last. Toyota got its niche in the late 70s and 80s because Toyotas, they were like, hey, you know what? We're going to build cars that stick around. And Honda kind of copied that too. And the American auto industry, with their obsolescence, oh, yeah, they managed to lose themselves a buttload of customers. And now we're at a point where people buy Japanese imports for quality and they kind of, turn up their nose at American cars.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a sad state of affairs if you think about it.
Well, I mean, they're basically we're building the same thing they're building. I mean, okay, we all know the stories in the old days. The cars themselves, they were built to last when the older they were. Now they're built to be thrown away just like disposable lighters. Um, they don't have strong points, they have crumble zones. I mean, this is type of shoddy workmanship that they're relying that everybody falls into this propaganda feed that whatever they tell you is good enough. We've lost that critical thinking of, well, if it can do this and this, why can't it do this? Think a little bit past what is on the surface, and you start realizing that we've got this throwaway society. Now, most people already know this, granted, but have you really applied it to every aspect of what's going on? Now, whenever, well, we can go directly to where everyone lives. We can talk about food. Food, you know the deal with the food nowadays. I mean, it's getting less and less variety on the shelves, but everything is easier. People are going to fast foods probably more often. I mean, it's easier. It's there, and nobody even contemplates what it is that's going into that fast food that's clogging them up. Now, I've said many times, always keep up with your health and stuff like that. Find out what you're deficient in and go that route. I started going off on a tangent. I'm gonna steer back. Um, the fast food is easy, and all this ease, everything's at your fingertips, as in the phones. You can order online anything you want almost, and have it delivered directly to your door. Probably not even to your door. In some instances, I've heard about people walking down the street and getting stuff delivered to them while they were walking down the street. You know, the convenience is crippling us and giving us one huge weakness. And this ties into China and all them, because their workforce is back in business. They're going full chug as much as they can. Now, we're not. As a matter of fact, we have no workers. Nobody wants to work anymore. They want to collect that paycheck. This is part of what needs to be done, is getting people to realize, well, to put it in old terminology, stand up and be a man, even if you are a woman. Be a man. And this
Are
is
you are
what's
you are
lost.
you saying
Go ahead.
are you saying that in the words of Mick Foley, we need to get our testicular fortitude, and for the women wrestlers, the ovarian fortitude?
There you go. That's a good way to put it. Thank you, Mick Foley.
Yeah, but
But yes,
what's for that third rail? The alphabets, what do they get? Just a thought, folks. They don't want to be one or
probably
the other. I guess they don't get no fortitude for them,
they get
no soup
pharmaceutical.
for them.
No
Yeah,
soup for you.
pharmaceutical fortitude. That sounds
Yeah.
like a prescription or a drinking formula.
Just
You know,
remember, I coined the phrase, when Big Pharma starts using it, I started
yeah,
it.
pharmaceutical fortitude right next to liquid courage. Oh
Exactly.
gosh.
And people standing up for yourself is the only thing you need to be concerned with outside of your health. And to me, it goes hand in hand. But for others, it may not, or you may not realize how closely related they are. And Hayden is joining us. Welcome, Missouri1.
Hayden in the house. What's up?
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, how you doing? I don't know if you've been listening in for the past few minutes, but we're talking about basically a dependent society right now. And
Oof. Heavy
yeah,
topic. A
well,
lot to
I
unpack
mean,
there.
it's an easy topic because it's so prevalent.
No, it's easy in the sense that society has been convinced to accept obsolescence as opposed to accepting quality. If you accept quantity over quality, you get what you get at that point. Bunch of I use another analogy. I used one with Sage earlier today with lucha libre masks, and people not able to sell their masks for what they're worth because there are so many bootleg masks. But bootleg action figures for lucha libre as well. You can have like let's say WWE figures with the joints and the hinges, and all that quality craftsmanship. They look just like the guy in the ring. And then you have the little plastic figures that are bootlegs made from China or who knows where else that they have the plastic molds, and you get them like a 10 pack for like $2. or a buck, and they're all like knockoffs, or you'll see this at swap meets in California. You go and it's like, it'll say uh, Detective Central superheroes, and it's like, knockoffs of Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. Like it'll be a Batman with a green outfit, stuff like that. And it's like that's what the world's done to us. They have sold us knockoffs of everything that are so much cheaper and break versus what we used to produce that was quality. And now it's like we got even knockoff comic books with the son of Superman going from being the heir of Clark Kent to being the guy who's never going to have kids because he's kind of smooching a guy. But that's beside the point. Planned
Well, I mean,
obsolescence, Hayden.
I
Oh
mean,
wait,
hmm,
Superman's going to be obsolete. He's going to go extinct with that type of lifestyle. Sorry,
there you
folks.
go.
Not sorry.
There you go. Well, think about it. Just the comic books itself. They've changed the nature of the comic book. I mean, with all it's been, hey, survival, good to see you. And with all that's been done to even that little bit of an industry, Latin Patriot, how you doing? And they've made it into such a commercial thing that was very easily done for them to take it over and turn it into this SJW woke crap. Because, quite frankly, I mean, destroying what was the past in this, particular discussion, we're talking about the comic book. Um, it used to promote hero, be a man, be self-reliant, figure things out for yourself. Don't take things for granted. Look deeper. This is the type of stuff. I mean, for Christ's sake, Batman, my favorite character, just saying, is an investigator. That's what he
Detective.
mainly does. Yes, detective. But he investigated and was, yes, I have a hard time calling him a detective because that's more or less a policeman. He was not a policeman. So yeah, that's why I say investigator. You could almost say private investigator. He hired himself out to investigate crime and bust the bad guys. But what it promoted was looking deeper and getting to the truth and knowing the truth and preparing for whatever that truth may tell in the future. For instance, one of the things about Batman is by the time he's in Justice League or whatever it was, he already had everybody's weaknesses down pat, down to Superman. And he had a way to take down every one of them. Didn't use it unless he had to, of course, but he had a way because that's the way he thought. He thought ahead. And that's what a lot of people are not even coming close to doing nowadays. They're letting this convenience take over their lives and they're letting it rule their lives so that now that they can sit in their chair and eat their Cheetos and play video games without being bothered. Okay, I'm done ranting. At least for now.
Well,
Well,
there's
if
Ada, go ahead before I jump on this.
I was gonna add in, still getting a little warmed up, getting in this conversation, but
Right on.
it's it it's so obvious, it's disgusting how people will tolerate basically anything at this point just to keep their day to day simple, and they will object, or maybe object's not the correct word, but they will, by any means necessary, almost avoid any sort of conflict for the point of just keeping things simple, or um, avoiding a dramatic situation, using the term loosely. They'll go so far as to let people walk all over them. And kind of like Sean was saying with the masks, I closely associate the word mask with facade or a fake personality. and people will just put on this fake personality because somebody else tells them to. People will let others step all over their rights or freedoms, liberties, just so that they can get through the traffic stop faster.
Hmm.
Absolute compliance to avoid any difficulty whatsoever. I yield. Looks like we lost Sean, did we?
Yeah, he's having problems with his phone. It's bound to happen. But yeah, I mean, uh, damn, I was going to say something. I distracted myself. Nuts. But hey, Oki, good to see you.
Hope it didn't get us too far off track. But
No, I mean,
I
you
felt
know
like
my
that was the
motto,
same
man.
direction.
You know my motto. Everything's connected. So I mean, everything
Most
from yeah, everything from the air we breathe down to the political bullshit we're immersed in. And damn, I wish I could remember what it was because it was. I know it was good because I was like, "Ooh, yeah, that'd be good." It was something playing off what you were saying.
I was kind of talking about how the masks are. I associate the word mask with facade. People will basically tolerate anything up at this point in time to get through their day to day.
Ah, right.
Avoid
Yeah,
any kind of conflict.
right. Well, that was kind of what I was going to go on right there. Their superficial nature. I mean, the way they've gotten everybody dumbed down, it makes it so easy for them to stay on that surface. And if everything they're involved in their life is on the surface, I'm speaking like, the culture of, all the way back to the Kardashians and stuff like that. That type of thing has been ingrained in the generations. Yeah, there's people within them that see through it, but for the most part, these people just basically don't know how to look deeper. And if you present them with something that goes a little bit deeper, it almost makes them do a brain freeze or get the screen of death on your Xbox or whatever.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
when you offer them some way like to progress or do something good, they have no idea how to do that. I mean, literally, you could explain it to them and they wouldn't understand. It's not necessarily their fault. They've been taught this way. And that's part of the responsibility that I kind of feel that we need to find a way to get them to do a little bit more deeper thinking. And it looks like Sean has rejoined. Welcome back, Sean.
Welcome back.
Getting some
Well,
wind noise.
Yeah, 1 sec. I'm gonna turn off this
Okay.
fan here. Had the old battery switcheroo because the previous battery with the phone not only was dropping power but it was overheating, and that's again part of that planned obsolescence. Those little batteries too, they get too much charge, they start getting fat on you. It's like, what's up with that? Because they don't want you to keep those cell phone batteries forever. You got to swap them out, but it says on the label they're rechargeable. Funny. So all that Green New Deal stuff with rechargeable batteries by extension. If you guys ever want to do a great project, look up how many rechargeable batteries are in landfills.
Oh yeah.
How many landfills are made just for rechargeable batteries?
The scouts wouldn't be doing events to collect them if there wasn't a big deal about it. Oh, we'll collect your computer monitors and your printers and your ink cartridges, and yeah, we'll collect your cell phone batteries and old laptops and hard drives and everything too,
Well,
because that stuff is hazmat.
well, not to mention some of that stuff can be mined. I mean, there's platinum in those hard drives.
Yep.
Very true.
I missed what you.
If I may.
I missed you, Hayden.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Vex, just to kind of Well, now the same thing happened to me. Wait, okay, I'm back. Yeah, you were talking about people trying to get folks to open up their mind or learn to problem solve. And one of the more frustrating things that in this world is the fact that they don't teach problem solving anymore in school. They teach you how to answer the questions that are going to be on the test. That's what they do now, and we've become a society full of just morons. Literally, because sure, you give them that one super complex math problem or situation or whatever, post somebody with that they've been trained to handle specifically. But if you deviate from that, or if the issue deviates from what exactly people have been trained for, they can't think outside the box.
Yes.
And beyond that, people part of everybody's avoiding you know, conflicts that contradict their or violate their beliefs is because nobody's willing to put in the time or the work to figure out how to fix these problems or where the greater problem lies. It's so I don't know if it's just everybody's so scared of uh these situations of trying to handle situations, or if, well, I believe this is true, society has made day-to-day life seem or feel so complex or um, heavy or filled everybody with so much anxiety that they just absolutely think they don't have time to handle anything outside of their 9 to 5. And once they get home, they either sit on the couch and drink or they just go straight to bed. It's really sad, but it's I sound like the English teacher from my high school telling me to open up the book and read, but just start learning stuff. People need to just it's either pick up a book, seek some knowledge, or we'll be beaten over the head with tyranny and oppression, and we will live miserable lives if we don't educate ourselves and learn how to problem solve.
Well, there's truth
Small,
in
If I
that.
may,
small rant right there. I apologize for that. How you
No
go?
problem. Go ahead, Sean.
Vex.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna
You
try to
went
explore
very
super
muted.
quickly.
Muffled, I mean.
Oh,
let me try that again. Can you
There you go.
hear me now, as I say?
There you go.
I'm going to try to be quick, succinct. A lot of folks aren't raised with that philosophy of steel sharpens steel. They're told conflict is bad, competition is bad, and so they seek to avoid it rather than using it as a way to evaluate themselves to say, okay, I came up short in this contest. How do I change my skill set so that next time I do better? You know, not going to go to the wrestling analogy, but yeah, steel sharpens steel in all professions. You have to have some resistance, otherwise you're in cruise control. And what happens is that you can either be specialized or you could be generally trained. And we were a country of people who were generally trained because we were can do and had to do it. And then we were told, hey, you need to be specialized. And we specialized so much in one skill set that while we might be indispensable to that skill set, we never realized that that market or that job skill might be replaced by something else, whether it's outsourcing, robotic machinery that does it without complaint and without a need for pay, or even just the product itself no longer being produced. What good is somebody who, you know, works on, let's say, let's go way back. If you guys remember back when bicycles first came out, they had the unicycle looking bicycle that was one big front wheel and an itty bitty back wheel. Now those still exist.
I remember the
Novelties.
day.
Well, you've seen the picture in the books. You don't have to literally be that old. And but that's not a joke for the older members of our audience, wherever you may be. But those particular bikes, unless you specifically make them as a novelty bike, they're pretty much obsolete. They're out of business. So the guy who knows all the tech about them, all the specs, all the different measurements and everything, he's not going to get a lot of work. Versus a guy who's generally trained on bikes and he can fix everything from a BMX to a mountain bike to a street bike to the bikes for Tour de France to the guys who make the fat tire looking bikes or even the lowrider style bikes. Like those, you see them everywhere. And that's the thing is folks get taught you got to specialize, and guess what? You specialized yourself out of being able to adapt to new conditions. So
Exactly.
that's one thing people have to learn is not just learn to go study and learn, but keep the open mind, be open to learning again and again and again. Don't get stuck in a rut mentally, philosophically. Always challenge yourself. Some type of new academic challenge or some type of new study or whatever have you. Vex, you had a point you wanted to make before I took the floor. Go ahead. I yield.
No, I was basically going to go right along with you, except I was going to use mechanics as an example.
Well, it's kind of similar to bicycles. It's still metal and it's still parts and it's still machinery. Just not as simple.
That in Missouri1, there's basically a type of mechanic.
Well,
there we go.
For 7 years, I was a mechanic by trade for a few Ford dealerships. So, but in that, there was a lot to be learned just outside of specializing on something. And what I'm leaning towards is diagnostics, which takes me back to that problem solving. And it's basically just putting yourself in a position which, if you're not a mechanic or do a skilled trade or anything like that, just put yourself out into the real world. Basically, put yourself into the world, experience life, and some of these issues will rise instead of going to your 9 to 5 and then going straight home. One thing that's been under attack for a long time is the community, and in most places nobody knows their neighbor, and sadly enough that's by design because they don't want people talking and communicating and therefore problem solving. But that is true.
It's funny
what you were saying, Sean, is that don't specialize. Always be pushing your personal boundaries to grow more, evolve. I yield.
Excellent. Sean?
Yeah, well, you've seen this. We'll stick with the automotive and mechanical analogies for a moment. Anyone who's a History Channel nerd, as a few of us might be, you've seen the shows where they fix cars, counting cars, or they do customs. Maybe on another channel, it'll be like Jesse James and his hot rods, or whatever they're doing. They're always not just in their work and in their craft. They're always saying, "Hey, can I get this job done better? can I get it to what the client wants, and can I make it excel? The that mindset, some call it a 3%er mindset, some call it a 1%er mindset, that almost perfect isn't perfect. So you're gonna go back and maybe add another layer of paint and another layer of wax, or maybe you're gonna go back and check that the check the alignment on your wheels again, whatever, because you got a racing event that weekend. Whatever you got that is your passion, whether it's a technical skill, a craft, a homemaking skill, if you're not reevaluating it and you get content and lackadaisical at that skill set, your skill set's going to suffer. For my unique background, it's like I know I've been away ever since the cough went around. And lo and behold, I know it's going to take me about 3 months to 4 months to get my timing back on and get my weight back down, and get my body numb again to bumping around to where I'll be comfortable and won't wake up in pain the next day. Because you can't just like a high performance engine, you can't throw a human body into a high performance situation without there being a cost to that. And before I blank on it, I just wanted to acknowledge Scrimshaw Survival in the chat, Miss Latin Patriot, and everyone. Let's go, Brandon. And that too was something Latin Patriot went and chased down the screen cap I shared earlier today with some of us, and he's saying it looks like YouTube already pulled it down. So there you go. This concerns me too. That particular mix of that song. I know Bryson Gray put out a song of Let's Go Brandon like a day or two before this other one released. And it's funny that one's at the top of the charts with a guy I've never heard of, and then the actual long-term MAGA patriot guy, his stuff's being, kept down and the views are kept down. Kind of interesting how that works out. So just something to consider, folks. They're even gaming our protest.
Oh, absolutely. Any control they can gain over us, they will take. And so,
Yeah.
and now we can flip this on the other side, and let's look at the positive. What can we do to change this? I mean, we all have our separate gripes, our grievances, if you will. Now, what happens if we come together and start doing something about it? Say, I don't know, working together and coming up with a plan and to fix it.
Well, that's the funny part, is if you look around the country, there are still old silos and factories and, smelting plants and stuff. It's just, unfortunately, a certain somebody from 2008 to 2016 shut down the last remnants of our infrastructure that dealt with crafting and forging and smelting metal and so on. And now that we're in the third reign of that party, or whatever you want to consider it, the 2.0 version, it's going to be very hard to get those type of industries back on their feet. But this is where we could say Texas, Florida, and a few other states that got their heads screwed on straight might just be at the spearhead of a possible renaissance of industry. And
So,
go ahead.
sorry. Oh, I was going to say, so what you're saying is we have a unique opportunity. I mean, we know the direction that they're pushing everything, and we know how much they've basically crippled our industry. So, what if we went local, started up local areas of smelting or anything in that regard, and start making those parts that are so desperately needed, and maybe even sitting offshore somewhere, and we start doing it in small areas, say county areas. I mean,
May
I
I?
know there are. Oh, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna chime in here because basically, kind of what we're talking about is being self-sufficient, self-reliant, and also it's a very true statement that for a long time, or we have now become reliant on other people or places to provide things that we need every day.
Mm-hmm.
And like we're talking about here, Sean and Vex, you both hit on something that I just wanted to say that uh, in my work at my current job, um, we make aftermarket performance parts, and we do everything in house. We buy everything from American companies. Everything has been engineered by people here in Missouri. It's built here in Missouri. The machining is done here in Missouri. And anything that we can't do, like foundries, somebody brought up, we go to a foundry that's closer to the downtown area, but it's been here, or I'm sorry, it's been in that same spot for almost 108 years.
Hmm.
Nice.
Yep.
That's what you
And
want, though. You want
exactly.
to support local and local families that have stayed with that consistency. Uh, would you say that foundry has been able to adapt with the times, or are they constantly being told they got to shut their doors?
Oh no, yeah, they've been there forever. Um, there's if you go out there, there's a neighborhood basically across the street, and they're they're turning out work just like it was 1900. I mean,
Hmm.
they're busting it out. They don't care. That's their job. That's what they got to do. That's how they make their living. They get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and work until maybe 2 in the afternoon if they got a long day, just because it's a foundry and it gets pretty hot, so they try and do it in the cooler hours of the day. But uh, they're kicking butt and taking names. They don't answer anybody.
And that's awesome. See,
Well,
self-sufficiency all around is what we really need to concentrate on. I mean, all the way down, from businesses and things of that nature in our local areas, all the way down to our personal responsibility for ourselves and our families. Sean, you wanted to say something?
yeah, related to what we're talking
Muffled.
about. Oh, sorry, my thumb sometimes covers that part of my phone.
Yeah.
Related to what we're talking about, I believe it's the attorney generals. It could be the governors, but both Texas and Missouri have paired up and are suing the current administration. I believe it might be over certain mandates, which that's a different attack. If you guys look at it on industry, all these big box stores, they have all the PPE. They have all the you know hand sanitizer and means to wash down tables. They have all that stuff already in stock. Smaller mom and pops never did. It's almost like they never stood a chance. Planning to make mom and pops obsolete. I wonder who would do that. And so I got to give props to Texas and Missouri for having people that are willing to fight back and kind of push this new renaissance of freedom and liberty across the country. But bring this up because, and this ties into the Texas part of what I'm saying. We had a company here in California that seemed to be the perfect fit for California, and it was called Tesla. And now they're in Texas. California screwed itself out of of a great opportunity.
Yeah. Well, that's happens here and there a lot. I mean, what was that thing that Horseface um, Ocasio-Cortez drove out? What was that?
Oh, in New York,
Yeah.
it wasn't Costco. It was some chain, an Amazon warehouse.
Ah,
She got in the way of that, which I'm
yeah.
not a fan of Amazon either, but people need jobs. It was better than a kick in the back. And by the way, don't refer to her as horse face. That's mean to horses. She looks more like a mule or a donkey, you know, appropriate for the party. So let's go with that, especially with those teeth.
I stand corrected.
That's not
If I
correction. It's
may,
just a preference. Go ahead.
w- what you're hitting on there, Sean, is is pretty important, and depending on where you are uh, in in this nation or in this country, take a good look at the economic structure of the state, because if the state where you are is kicking out giant corporations or driving out giant corporations that are providing a huge amount of jobs, sit there and think they are conditioning the inhabitants of that state to either work and make money and export products, or they're conditioning them to be just consumers of products. And if they're conditioning you to just be a consumer, then they are conditioning you to just be a cash cow.
You know, I actually referenced that on Sage News earlier tonight. Um, and I explained that to Sage that if the Americans would get back to producing, we wouldn't be sweating the logistics at the harbors and ports because we'd be sending out products and we'd be making our own products for ourselves instead of being the consumers. Something to go with this too, not just in terms of consumption. In my city, Riverside, the biggest employer in Riverside County is local government. 40% plus of jobs are from local government agencies and bureaucracies. So the people are learning how to file paper, maybe collect taxes or tell someone you can do this, you can't do that, but they're not producing anything otherwise. There's no product in government. Government is someone, you know, ruling over the minds of others saying, okay, you pay me taxes. I'll take your check from your taxes. I'll go here. I'll divvy it up to these people. I'll take my cut of it for pay. And that's my job. That's really all it is. You know, the meeting constituents angles, most politicos try to avoid that at all costs, to be honest. They do out and press the palms and make the promises. But a lot of them, years ago, Project Veritas exposed this. They would just let their phones ring off the hook, tell their staff not to answer them. You know, they're not supposed to do that, but they were getting away with it. Also, in the chat, Scrimshaw referenced here a lot of American businesses in China are moving to the Philippines. That is true, and we are also trying to get India to become our big business partner away from China. That was what the last administration was trying to pivot towards, essentially breaking up the BRICS monopoly: Brazil, Russia, India, China. And as I said on Sage earlier tonight, we got Brazil on our side. Russia is kind of neutral, and we got India on our side. China was the last big nation for manufacturing and everything that we were trying to focus on and make some deals with them. And then they're paid off. Big guy got himself, scammed into the White House, and now China doesn't have to play ball with us. Instead, they're directing the plays. But more on point. If we are going to put up with planned obsolescence, it makes sense that planned obsolescence moves first from the goods you consume, the different groups of people who need or consume or make those goods, to eventually where everyone is rendered obsolete and deemed non-essential. Huh. Kind of funny. I wonder who was doing that recently.
Mhm.
I yield.
Yeah, I put this up on screen because it reminded me of something in where my grandma and grandpa used to live. Small town, I think less than 2,000 people, something like that. But they had this shoe factory. I don't remember the name of it, but it was American-made shoe. Um, and it didn't go for extreme amount of money. It was a decently priced shoe that was locally made, and it got bought up by another company. I don't know who it was because, quite frankly, I wasn't doing much research in those days. But um, they bought up this company and closed it down. Next thing I've heard is that those shoes were turned into another company and then are made in China. And that was years ago, many years ago. And I do believe I don't like I said I don't remember the product it became, but they're being sold in Walmart right now.
Hmm.
Just a
Well, the
little.
New
I
Balance
think
shoe
so.
line, that's probably who you're thinking of. New Balance was either from the Midwest or out east. Really good running shoes, and they got bought up by Chinese investors, and now they're made overseas. And I used to buy them religiously, and then I heard about that, and about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I checked on it. I haven't bought any New Balances. Excuse me for the yawn. I haven't bought any New Balances since, and I like them a lot. But if you can't
Yeah.
get the shoes to be made here, I'll just go with a generic cheapy shoe in the meantime, rather than spending money and lining the pockets of a government that quite literally is not our friend, and their businesses are not the friends of our businesses. They're competition.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, it was basically the point I wanted to make with that story overall was the fact that there was this shoe company that had this place and it did well, but they allowed themselves to get bought out, and then it basically killed the economy in that small town where my grandma and grandpa were living, and it killed it. I mean, sure, we had sawmills and stuff like that. I'm talking, this is a small town and everything, and that was one of the few businesses in the area that helped that economy, and it has gone downhill ever since. And this is what our government has done to our small towns, our big towns, our cities, even. And we have to start taking, even if it's squeaking out a loan, start your business. Don't be afraid. I mean, quite frankly, the money that you're playing with anyway right now isn't real, to begin with. It's all fiat. We'll find that out, I'm sure, very soon if you don't already. But it's got to be local, everyone. Worry about your specific counties and the people there that live, because they are going to be the ones that you're going to have to work with. And I started going on another rant. So,
Yeah,
anybody want to queue up? Yeah, go ahead, Hayden.
yeah, if as long as we're on this topic, um, and I don't know how relevant this is for everyone, um, but from what I've heard talking to um, some people just spread out far and wide, they are noticing to some degree some sort of shortage. Um, just so happens in the area where I'm at in in my town, there is a massive shortage on simple things like uh, beverage items, cups. Cups at one store, uh, go to the next store, and they don't have any straws for their fountain drinks. Just the other morning, I went to go get a cup of coffee, and lo and behold, there's no lids. It's there's stuff like that, and as we're talking about focusing on community and kind of talking about local economy, everybody listening here, if you have money issues and you see one of these kind of shortages happening in your local community, it's your fault that you don't have any money, because there's a blatant opportunity to provide in a certain area in your local community that you could turn into a business. So these shortages, instead of panicking, be the resolution.
Hmm.
Get online, see what it takes to create a lid, or get a mold so that you can make styrofoam cups and sell them to the local gas station. See what it takes. Look into it. Who knows? You might just make millions. But if you sit there and complain and say, "Oh, we don't have this. There's no lids for the coffee. What are we gonna do?"
Hmm.
Well, you're gonna continue to be coffeeless, broke, and probably spilling hot coffee all over yourself. But long story short, uh, I said long story short, and I was going to go on with another example, but a lot of things going on, and I know this shortage is nationwide, is new vehicles. Car dealerships, they're not getting a lot of inventory in because they're not. Most cars nowadays, everything is electronic. There's a chip or processor in almost everything, and I mean literally almost everything. And most of those chips are coming from Taiwan. Okay. Now there's a company here in the States called Texas Instruments, and they make calculators. And they've been making their own chips for quite some time and haven't been importing them from overseas. And they are hiring out the wazoo because they can't keep up with the demand that's getting asked of them to help produce some of these chips that need to go in just about everything nowadays. So now I'll say it, long story short, is be the solution for your local community. See the problem and be the one who initiates the solution. I yield.
Thank you. One of the things I'd like to add on top of that is one of the shortages that I know I spoke with you about in my area is BIC lighters. BIC, BIC lighters. The normal size, run of the mill BIC lighters. I noticed that in some of the small shops and stuff like that, they just don't have any. They've run out. And there's only the weird ones that are and the expensive ones and stuff like that. But if you go to the big box stores, you can find them. They're hanging up right in the checkout aisle. They're on the shelves. Now, think about the coincidence in that. Just that right there. I mean, I was thinking about going and buying a bunch of them and then going to the local smoke shop and selling them to them. I mean, there's opportunities out there. I mean, it almost sounds like I'm advocating for like a black market or something like that, but it's supply and demand, really. And
Oh,
everyone knows right now that demand is pretty high, supply is low because of all that stuff they've been keeping out from us. John?
yeah, there may be a demand eventually coming for a black market because already uh, there are people whose livelihoods depend on if they have a card that, explains their medical status. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to get too far into that, but we know what I'm referring to. So we're not trying to strike no one's channel tonight, but you know, supply and demand, and we are capitalist nation, no matter how much the swamp rats want it to be otherwise. The point with Texas Instruments was a really good point, by the way. They're still in the, I believe, top 6 microchip producers, and transistors, parts for transistor radios. Their main specialty is analogs, and coincidentally, I actually read up on them about a month ago. I was bored and reading their Wikipedia, and I was like, ooh, they're involved in this, this, and this. So, yeah, I know Wikipedia is a terrible source, but it's a basic grounding idea or generalization of the company. The thing for what we're seeing, though, is that there is opportunity, but if people have been taught not to have, oh my gosh, an entrepreneur mindset, that sounds like such a dirty word, or just a capitalist mindset, or a mindset to make money or to hustle, whatever you want to call it. If there's a bunch of people who are angry because they don't have work, well, okay, how can we all get work? Go to that city council and say, hey, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Council, there's 100 of us here looking for work. What can you as the city council do since you're so willing to hire all these secretaries and, these people and these people? How about us? Heck, we'll clean your highways, or we'll clean your park for you. It's better than having convicted, felons doing it. You never know where those felons are looking for opportunities to escape or whatever. I'm kind of not a fan of that idea of them, doing some of that maintenance work, in residential areas, but you'll sometimes see that happen. But this is, if you think creatively, there is always a solution for a problem. Case in point, someone decided to mess with our economy here in California. And by someone, I mean someone's plural. And our gas popped up to $7.59. According to ABC7 News, at the one of the more infamous gas stations in our state. So we got people paying $7.59 a gallon at that particular gas station. In my town, gas with tax is hitting $5 a gallon. How are you going to have an infrastructure if people can't even get to work, let alone there's gasoline for anything? Oh, Green New Deal, Green New Deal. Your plastic parts, Green New Deal fans, won't show up if there's no one transporting them because there's no fuel.
Yes.
I really wish I could shake those people who are doing this stuff, shake them by the collar and wake them up. But, sometimes even paintbrushing them with your hand won't be good enough, and that's really a thing, folks, is we have to create the jobs and the market and the economy. We have to create and continue this renaissance, because they're not going to do it for us. Whoever you want to define they are intent on shutting down everything we have. So we may go back to knowing, okay, how do I make something out of wood versus out of metal? How do I make something out of easy to find metals and ore and alloys versus having it made out of state of the art plated titanium with reflective platinum lining and all the bells and whistles? It's like, do you really need elaborate stuff? I'm not saying I want us to be broke as a people. No. If we can have high tech, great. But at the end of the day, you got to look at it as a survivalist, or people in the military would look at it. You need to eat, you need to breathe, you need to drink water, you need sleep, and preferably shelter, so while you sleep, you don't get killed or exposed to the elements. And and a place for hygienic purposes, of course. But even then, you could always go to an outhouse or dig a hole in the dirt. But end of the day, it's pretty simple: food, water, shelter, sleep, clean air to breathe. Sadly, we don't have a lot of those options and their pure forms anymore. But if you have that, you're going to survive. Mm-hmm. Now the question is, how do you survive the next day? That's where paying your bills and stuff come in. So you got to get creative. And like for example, I know of a place here in Riverside. I got to donate some bike frames to them. It's called the Maker Place, and they teach kids how to do metal work and craft welding and all that stuff. So assuming once I get back in touch with them that they could take the bike frame donations, they'll use those to demonstrate to these kids how to do some arc welding, or how to make maybe like a little sled out of the bikes, or maybe a hang glider, or some type of project. And that's what you want. You also want people who can teach these type of skills. There's people that always say the teachers are underappreciated. No, the teachers who teach valuable skills, they're appreciated. The teachers who are teaching, you know, gender studies, yeah, thanks, but I'm not going to be there to, give you a Valentine's card or a, Christmas present. You're kind of not on my radar.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Real quick.
Hey.
Hello, Kathy. Welcome. Good to see you.
Oh, we got someone new.
Yeah. Welcome, Kathy.
Yeah, may I?
Go ahead.
Excuse me. I like how we're talking about innovation and creating new things, or being a leader in any which way you can be, because as I see it, everybody's a leader. There's just different types of leadership. What are you good at? What can you bring to the table, kind of situation. And Sean was, discussing, be innovative or seek to learn that trade or something. But with a lot of these things, a lot of this stuff that's been around is not new. It's old technology, old trades, old ideas or concepts, and going backwards in time to be able to do something like, fix bicycles, or like what I referred to earlier as to making cups or something. Cups aren't a new thing. They've been around forever. You don't need 21st century technology to make a cup. So if you're a woodworker and you have a wood turning lathe in your house, you could figure that out. If you got a 3D printer because you like that kind of technology, there's another way of doing stuff. We just gotta use what's at hand, whether it's an old method of achieving the same end result, or new technology that we have at our disposal to achieve that end result. Just get up and make it happen.
And it also promotes critical thinking, problem solving.
Exactly.
That's been kind of the thing, is that always when people do start a new, not so much, well, you call it a craze or a trend, or just when there's a new revitalization of any culture, they go to the past, they take what the founders of that particular industry want to bring forward, they use their blueprint and they bring it forward into their time, and they use those simple ingredients, those basics, to constitute a new product or a new good or a new service or a new answer to that problem. You referenced the wood lathe for making the cups. Someone else may also modify that and use it for making bowls. Maybe they'll modify it more, make vases out of wood, and so on. It just depends on what they want to do with it. I've always had my eye, for example, there's a lot of folks in the different fiction communities who like what they call steampunk. And the idea of steampunk was it was science fiction, somewhat futuristic, but based on the idea of going back to like the Victorian era clothing and using steam engines to power, floating airships and steam engine style trains, but like other vehicles and stuff. And that was an idea that always stuck with me, and that the futuristic goals are accomplished by using old technologies. In theory, that some of that stuff could be done. I was looking at something and it had me chuckle. Um, those of you who are aware, there's there's actually frozen hydrogen gas. It exists out there, and that was going to be considered as one of the types of fuel for the SR-71 Blackbird. That was something I was reading about, and they were having flammability issues with it, so they went to a different type of fuel. Uh, but I'm looking at that, I'm like, wait, frozen hydrogen gas. So they just managed to split hydrogen from water, and freeze it. It's like, that doesn't sound really too high tech. I mean, you probably have to do some type of laboratory stuff to it that's beyond my, scope. But it's kind of like when everyone talks about the hydrogen water powered engine that Ford was not allowed to produce, that they had to put the kibosh on. Well, okay, we know it happened in the past. Someone with an engineering mind from today could try to go back to those documents in the past, find out what worked for Ford or for the competitors that probably were building the same thing at that time, and say, well, what if I make mine and I figure out a way not to get killed by, say, working with Tesla on it, or working with some science company that or even DARPA, if you want to get a government contract, maybe they'll protect me if I bring it forward. Create a whole new industry. Now, I'm not too sure DARPA would like that, but it's an example. It doesn't have to be a breakaway technology or disruptive technology, but the people in the past in the different fields, they had many concerns as we do. We as a culture have added a bunch of extraneous concerns, many of which do not affect us on the day to day. The who's going to win the Super Bowl argument, that really only matters to the Super Bowl people and the people that market it, and then people who are willing to spend their money and their time on that. But does it really change geopolitics? Nah. Does it change the trends of cultures? And maybe, give or take the riots that happen afterwards, or parties, whatever you want to call them. But ultimately, a Super Bowl win is just a big advertising bonanza. Oh, we got someone else.
Chiefs won the Super Bowl. There were no riots.
Real quick. Hey, Veritas, good to see you.
Welcome, Veritas.
But I wasn't trying to be rude. I gotta defend the Chiefs. There were no riots when Chiefs won. But I am glad you brought up that hydrogen based engine, because I was actually thinking about that a few minutes ago before you brought it up, and me and a buddy looked into that concept a while ago, and he had a project truck that we were gonna try and get to run solely just based off of all we had at our disposal that would have kind of worked was a keg. But
a keg, huh?
Regardless, well,
I'm assuming the keg was empty at least.
Yes.
Okay.
The keg was emptied. Yes.
I wonder how it got that way.
All right. Now.
Well,
this is drinking humor, which, mind you, I do not advocate drinking, but I have sold many a keg to many a college student, so
please drink responsibly.
The keg didn't leak, so I'll tell you that much. We played around with that concept of creating that free energy powered engine. We sort of never figured out a way to actually get the engine to run completely, and it might have just been from a lack of the science behind it. But we did get it to turn over and a little bit of combustion a couple times, and we were just two guys messing around with an idea that we'd heard about.
That combustion wasn't from the hops, right?
Time and effort.
I'm just making
Was
sure the
not.
combustion wasn't from the hops. Okay. I was going to
But
say, Miss Latin Patriot, I haven't seen fried green tomatoes. I saw that in the comments. But
Have a good night, Kathy. Thanks for coming by and hanging out with us.
yeah, the I don't know if you want to drop the link in the panel or not, Vex. My thought of going live tonight was kind of just if we have people that had questions or concerns, kind of a round table this evening. That'll be up for you guys. But what would you guys do if you had something from the past that you could bring forward that would help us today? What technology would it be? What idea or concept would it be?
Mhm.
The three of us on this panel, we always talk about certain tools within a certain spectrum of life in terms of governance. Those tools that we have, lawful tools, but those are actually constructs, ideas, and then people agree to, abide by those or not. But there are actually, I could see us bringing back products from the past that might actually work. Another example, and I was discussing with this the other night with a couple of ladies in another Discord channel. The old Singer sewing machines, the ones that are like those big cast iron ones with the foot pedals. Like some of these folks still have them in their garage or in their home, and they still work, and they still do a better job stitching up, your clothes than anything manufactured. And any of the newer little portable plastic sewing machines, those things, the needle always bends. There's not enough power to punch the needle all the way through denim or through leather or through tougher goods. And I've seen my promoter as well. He's got himself an old sewing machine set up because the newer stuff he uses, if it's not quality, wrecks the needle, and then the tights he'll be making for a wrestler, he has to stop, pull the thread back out, start the process all over because of that one bent needle. So he basically he sticks to his old sewing machine versus all the new stuff. That's an example of something from the past. It's still good today. It's still quality before they went to cheaper quality, weaker, more environmentally friendly, less powerful products.
Yeah.
I yield.
Yeah, that's
if I may,
well, we could real quick. I want to make this little analogy, or actually a parallel. We can go into the cars again. Speaking about in that regard, there may all. I mean, who was it? I forget which one of you guys were talking about the manufacturing. They can't get their cars to the lots and stuff like that. To me, in my
yep,
head, yeah, I think that was you, Hayden. Um,
yep.
yeah, but in my head, that's a good thing because those things are crap anyway. I mean, they're not made to last. Go ahead, Hayden.
Uh, well, since you just said that, two things. Uh, yeah, the newer stuff is not designed to last, and that's
Hmm.
intentional. I think everybody knows that. The second thing was just to answer Sean's question or request, but a round table, if you will, if uh, is sounds like a good idea to me, but up to you, Vex, if you wanted to open up the panel
Yeah,
like
I've
that.
already put the link in the chat already. Come on up and join us. Join in the chat. Bring us your concerns, maybe some questions. Um, more than happy to answer what we can, if we can. We'll definitely put our best foot forward. Yeah, I usually go for about an hour and then open up the panel for others. So essentially, you said that right on time, Sean. Thanks.
Yeah, I kind of had the feel for that. And Miss Latin Patriot makes a good point that yes, the government will take some of these technologies developed and sequester them away, sometimes kill the inventor or threaten them or whatever. Here's the sick part. Then the government will turn around on occasions and sell those patents to other agencies or favored corporations or even let other nations, China, cough, cough, intellectual property, get away with stealing that stuff and bringing it to market. There's a real good example of a while back, if you guys recall. Supposedly, India discovered, ice on the moon, proof of water on the moon with one of their rockets. One, who built their rockets? What technology? Oh, that might have been us. And two, who's been to the moon and already taken samples and know what's up there? Oh, that would have been NASA. But did we ever announce the water on the moon? No, we wanted to, the people calling the shots there wanted to space that out and then give NASA the credit for it. And even there's a certain radio host we know about. He had conversations with Buzz Aldrin, and Buzz Aldrin laid out the different steps of what they're going to do. And sure enough, according to schedule and plan, India gets credit for that. Now, here's the thing: how do we know India really did that? Out of their own technology, their own structure. Who gave India access to those space age pieces of equipment and technology? Because that's one up there with Area 51 in terms of our stealth and supersonic planes programs. NASA's secrets are highly guarded. That's like if we're giving India all that stuff, well, Pakistan's next door. Oh wait, Pakistan has nukes. What could go wrong there? So, you know, someone brings up a technology and they're like, "This is awesome. I'm going to make a probe that can detect water on the moon, or a little robot arm that can scrape up the rock and analyze for ice, or whatever." And he makes it, whether he does it for himself or he subcontracted to NASA. Somehow, this machinery, these equipments, new word, I made plural out of equipment. Anyway, this stuff gets into India's possession so they can claim credit for when they crashed their little rocket up there and did their little spiel.
Hey Nate,
That to me, it's indicative that American geniuses made machinery, but they don't even get the credit for that discovery or the process. It's like, nope, we'll just give it to India and let India look good. Literally outsourcing the glory, but also, no one's going to think to ask, well, who invented the machinery for them? Or at
mhm.
least who sold it to them? That factors into this conversation. Is not only there's planned obsolescence, but now America getting credit for its inventions and its technology. We created the microchip in Silicon Valley. Now in China, anytime Silicon Valley creates, nanotech chips and particles now China's getting the credit for them because they're mass producing them. People don't think of Silicon Valley as a hub of innovation. Now they just think of it as a bunch of idiots with big tech in Berkeley causing us trouble. It's completely a skewed situation right there.
I mean,
I see
it's
our
kind of par for the
panel
course.
yeah. Has our panel grown at all? No. Get up
No.
here, folks. You're making me grumpy. I wanted to talk to y'all tonight. Talk to, not at. Uh, Okie Dean said Fairchild Electronics. Yep. And Dr. Shiva. Yep.
And
Yeah, that
everything
right
is kind of
there.
patterned out.
Go ahead,
That-
Vex.
No, that's what I was wanting to say is everything has a pattern to it, and this is no different. Go ahead.
Well, Dr. Shiva being an example, the guy makes a invents email when he's 14, and then you
Mhm.
have several. Then they have to water it down. Well, other people invented email too. It's like, okay, well, who did it first?
Welcome,
You know
Scrimshaw.
Howdy.
that's the thing. Hey, Scrimshaw, welcome.
Whoops.
That's the
Hold
thing is,
on.
you, no
Yeah.
worries. What I'm trying to say is we have an inventor in this day and age. Now American inventors aren't even getting credit. It's always this laboratory, this college, or some technology firm out of China.
Well, that's what we were
Scientists at
touching on
Cal
earlier.
Poly discover, you know,
Yeah, that was what we were touching on earlier as far as them discouraging invention in the first place. As soon as you come up with something that will actually, go against their, you know, essentially ruling the world, then they come in and take your invention, and if you talk about it, they slap you with lawsuits or whatever, and keep all the inventions to themselves so that they can work on it privately, control it, know everything about it, and then reproduce it as needed, and not even as a whole. They'll just do it piece by piece, so that way they can make the new Microsoft and they can make the new Bill Gates and and stuff like that. Hello, Scrimshaw.
Hello.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I got some rest so I can stay out and hang out with you guys. You know what? Yeah, I've heard so many patents been bought out and taken by by large companies and all that. People with more money. You know what I think we should do? I think we should start businesses on the sly, none for nothing,
Mhm.
and don't tell them what we invented and just keep doing it. And the hell with them if they try to sue us. The hell
Well,
with them.
they always try
Screw
and
them.
get their grubby little hands into everything. You know that.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm just saying, you know, if we gotta do an underground thing to make our American businesses go, do it. The hell with it. You know. So
But
what? You
There,
don't have a big business. Maybe you do it small and you make some money on your own. And the heck with all this patent stuff and all this law.
hmm,
well,
All that.
there's a good example of that, Scrimshaw. I think you're familiar with the Etsy website for people who make crafts and everything, right?
Yeah.
Do we really know if the IRS has the time to go after every craftsman and every artist on Etsy to make sure that every painting and every T-shirt, every jewelry, and every custom rhinestone baseball cap or whatever, they don't have the time with that with their agents. So that's the thing. Why are people willing to bring the government into their lives to start a company? That's part of our conditioning that we've been, oh, to start a business, I need a license. Tell that to the kid who does the lemonade stand for Girl Scouts. She doesn't need a license to make money for her scout troop.
You know,
So
I have
where
a business license for my business, but I ain't doing a lot of business right now. I'm doing more assembly stuff like that. I get stuck with my kids, so my business kind of fell by the wayside a bit. But hi, Carolyn. Uh, anyways, yeah, but I feel that too. I mean, look, they don't want a kid to have a lemonade stand. They don't want a kid to have a nickel in their pocket for crying out loud. When I was a kid, I was always making and doing something. I used to embroider T-shirts. You wouldn't believe the shit I used to do. It was like $5 a T-shirt. I could get a T-shirt for $1 and some thread for less than $1, and I might have spent 20 hours working on that T-shirt if I was doing something complicated by hand. But I always took in a few bucks, you know. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with a kid mowing a lawn or coming around with some shovels helping somebody shovel out, for Christ's sake.
that's for sure.
You never see a
Yep.
kid in this neighborhood come around with a shovel. I used to give them decent money to shovel some stuff out. You don't get that around here no more.
Well,
It's
Yep.
ridiculous. And
when I
Yeah.
was real quick, when I was young, I actually had to carve out a territory for shoveling and mowing lawns and stuff like that, just to keep other kids from taking my business. All right,
yeah,
go ahead, Missouri.
Uh, yeah, kind of like Sean was saying, and even what Scrimshaw was saying. I just wanted to throw this out, and y'all can do whatever you want with this information. But uh, as long as you are doing research, or uh, you could even go as far as to say R&D, research and development, um, you don't need a license for anything.
cool.
Correct.
And if you're researching which embroidery design sells best on t-shirts, make sure you're collecting the data that you're which one's doing the best.
Well,
Other than
I
that,
Exactly.
I
just
never
research.
done any
And
of that stuff by machine. I learned how
Well,
to crochet. I'd make doilies and handbags for people. Never learned nothing by machine that way. We sewed
well,
quilts by hand. You know,
well, even if you're doing it by hand, what I'm saying is even if however you get whatever it is that you're researching out there to figure out which one is most marketable, uh, it's just research. Whether
yeah,
you're knitting it by hand or you're doing it on a machine,
yeah.
you're just looking into it. It's
Excuse me.
it's not unlawful and it's not illegal to research yet.
if I may, I want to thank Carolyn real quick for sharing the panel we're doing out. Thank you, Carolyn. That right there
Absolutely.
too is something just word of mouth. That in terms of something, in terms of a business or a product or an idea. If you have people willing to talk about it by word of mouth, why does government need to get involved? Anytime. Oh, well, why are you got this person on your payroll? Oh, him? He's not on my payroll. I just give him money for consulting. You know, pay him for services rendered. There are ways to word things to where that tax man is not going to get what he wants. I'm not saying to not pay your taxes, cough cough. I'm saying to pay less taxes. You know,
Yeah.
they work smarter, not harder with their little piracy business. And we have a mindset where we're thinking, okay, they're going to come after us. Well, they have to know you exist. So if you're making a business that's word of mouth, like Scrimshaw's saying, it's underground. Uh, what's his face? I'm not saying this is good or bad, but there's a fellow uh, most of us know of, and on his channel he makes bracelets. And he's putting out these bracelets. They're made of paracord or they're made of whatever. That's innovative. And who's going to audit him to try to see how much he's made of those bracelets, how much he's held, how many employees he has, etc. We all know it's just him making those bracelets, but it's not economical for the big piranha to come after the tiny piranhas when there's a
Hmm.
nice fat juicy tuna waiting for the big piranha to go chase that big tuna fish down. Thing is,
I
those
got
big tuna fishes,
Exactly.
they want to swim out of state, such as Elon Musk. He was like, I'm not getting nipped at by all these piranhas. I'm out of here. Go ahead, Scrimshaw or Hayden.
that was me. Yeah, I mean, I have a business license, and I'd be going down doing craft fairs and stuff as a business, and if I had to just mark my stuff up a little, because if I charge taxes, people would get bullshit at me, so I had to figure the tax into the price, go backtrack it.
Hmm.
People would be pissed. It's like, hello, I'm trying to do this legit. I mean, really, seriously, I pay the man stuff, but at this point, the way things are going, we got to get innovative and we got to start making something besides crafts here.
One of the
And I
things I
say,
always
I say, excuse me for a minute, but
Mhm.
I say we take all the steel and stuff from the cars and these big car graves and we start manufacturing with it. What the hell? We got shit we can use here. We could clean up America and make our own cars too.
That's for sure. Well, one of the
Well,
things I love
if I
saying is, real quick, I'll do this. One of the things I love saying is we got to get down to our county levels and make sure our county is good. Just noticing the different economy, well, the economy itself in your individual county. If you can find a way to strengthen that, that is the most important thing you can do. Go ahead, Hayden.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I agree with Scrimshaw, and kind of what we've all basically been talking about is the success of us all, and how America got to be a world power was because of American innovation, and almost solely because of American innovation. If we cease to innovate, we cease to be forward thinking, we cease to be productive, and we cease to pay attention to other people's needs, wants, or desires. So whether being an innovator is from is being created from being wanting to be lucrative, or wanting to basically help somebody with a problem that they have, either way it's innovation and it moves everybody else forward. And we've gotten to the point where we're no longer being innovative, and we're letting the young scrawny America in the beginning turned out to be this big, giant, fat, no longer initiative or innovative thing, and we basically wait for other people to do things for us. We've quit from that worker bee mindset to the okay, how many hours does it have to be until I can buy this? Or, you know, I want to buy, and it's nobody thinks outside the box because of that. They're just trained to spend their time at work and then spend their money on something that they really don't need. They're never reinvesting in themselves or their ideas.
There it is.
It's just a perpetual state of basically, for lack of a better word, it's just slavery, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. Sean,
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this is something, and part of it has to do with Sears going out of business. But I used to remember the Craftsman tools commercials on TV, especially as you get more towards Christmas. It used to be that men would buy or receive tools as a holiday gift. Now that's gone away from being a gift for men, if men even get holiday gifts anymore. It's gone to stuff like sports apparel or man-child type stuff like gaming and entertainment type material. When you get someone tools for a gift, especially if the tools related to their trade, it was like saying, "Hey, I'm giving you something so you can continue what you do and become more wealthy at it." You know, the auto mechanic getting that nice big red and black Craftsman case of tools on the wheels, you know, you could roll in the garage, or the guy getting the and I'm not trying to plug Craftsman, I'm just using it as the example. The guy getting the Craftsman lawn care equipment, or he gets a John Deere tractor back before John Deere was made from Chinese parts, stuff of that sort. You notice, I haven't watched TV in forever, but I've noticed on my YouTube feeds and stuff, in terms of commercials and plugs, almost next to no tools, next to no crafting gear, stuff of that sort. I also wanted to give Scrimshaw and Okie Dean credit. They're also just now in the chat, you know, discussing with each other about, you know, reaching out to each other regarding their particular craft. And that's something right there that, again, that drives the elites crazy. That, my gosh, how dare these people make a new bond over business and perhaps combine their resources and create something better than, you know, what we could do. You know, that scares people when I've seen it in the personal level when you have like again, this is a wrestling business, but when you have two wrestlers who click and they're in a company and they're having really good matches, you'll have other people jealous for how successful their matches are and upset because you'll have guys who bring it, and everyone else is like, man, that sucks. They'll be completely negative, but it's like, listen to the crowd. The crowd's happy. You guys are making money. Why are you being negative? Well, a lot of these globalists, because they're miserable people, they hate us for our success. Whether we are a mechanic, an entertainer, artisan, or a teacher or a doctor, whatever, they hate when we're successful because we can make other people successful, which means we don't need them. That's the best part, is when America wakes up and realizes we don't need them. And these products sitting offshore in those containers, I actually think we don't need them. We have enough. We've kept how many deer on these national parks? How many deer on those parks? How many bison? How many birds? Turkeys that are out there. I mean, if we really were getting savage, we could hunt down all the wild burros and wild horses if we really were in a starvation situation, which we're not.
Real quick. Hey, the Salt Lakers, good to see you. Go ahead, please.
Was that Salt Lakers or Salt Lickers?
The Salt Lakers.
Okay, because I know in Utah they say team. Okay, yeah, they say creek is crick, so I want to make sure we're hearing the vowels correct if it comes out of Utah.
Hey, he's saying I was letting my hillbilly accent come out.
Yeah, well, it's really weird. When I met my husband, we were both teenagers, and he didn't have a lot of money, and so if he had something that had to be fixed, he fixed it himself, and if he didn't know how to fix it, he'd get books and look it up.
Yeah.
And so I think he can fix and do just about anything, that man. And I always said to myself, I'm not going to marry a man unless he can use a screwdriver. And I think it's good advice to any young lady today.
Yeah, may I?
Go for it.
Please.
When growing up, one of the sayings I heard, and it pretty much eventually just became my motto for just about everything, and ended up actually helping me pick the career path that I chose. And that motto is, if you want something done and you want something done right, do it yourself. That goes all the way down to washing your car, fixing your own utilities, doing your own oil changes, so on and so forth. And then I learned as well that on average, throughout America, the second largest expense per household was vehicle, that household's vehicle, or maintaining that vehicle. Mm-hmm. And the first largest expense was owning a house. And then it really clicked to me. I was like, wow. So if I could just learn to, kind of become self-sufficient in the way of being able to do my own maintenance on my vehicle, I could save thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah.
I don't have to buy a car from a dealership because I know exactly what I need to look for when I'm looking at a new car to buy. And I don't have to pay the taxes or for anybody else's labor, for all stuff that I can do myself. And bringing this back to that one saying is, if you want something done and you want it done right, do it yourself, is applicable in all shapes, all avenues of life. I yield.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of funny because that applies in all fields, tech industry, study, politics, especially. And even with the so-called cough science out there, cough, it's like, well, if we really want to know what's going to get us, through this so-called era, we got to take a look at the research and, oh no, do our own research and actually look at papers and documents and things and interviews with different opinions and then decide where it's at. Because again, these folks have planned for us to be obsolete. That's not a polite suggestion in their circles anymore. They view us as replaceable. If they can get labor from India or China, what do they care if the American labor is outsourced or if we starve? And that's the artificial scarcity they're trying to create. If we innovate our way around it, they're going to be. It's kind of funny whenever America got its back to the wall. Not only do the people kind of come out of it swinging, come out of it with new innovation. It never fails. The say what you want about Carnegie and Rockefeller, and I could say a lot about them because I'm not a fan of them as persons or a fan of what they did to the country with the other globalist factions out there. But when you heard about those railroads and big steel in those areas and those cities being modernized and how fastly the world was being brought up to speed, Edison with a light bulb and the Alexander Graham Bell with the telephone wires. Like the one thing I would bring up in the future is get people back onto phones that are wired in terms of fiber optic cable, because you would never have a drop signal as long as your wire wasn't cut. But conversely, somewhere around the line, I don't know if it had to be done or whatever the decision was, they decided to stop laying lines and instead start doing radio bandwidth and going cellular instead of through fiber optics. So, that's kind of my own bias showing there, though. If we could bring fiber optic cable, from the 90s when that was state of the art, bring it back into the future. Communication, speed of light.
Absolutely. Oki makes a good point. He was talking about he fixes all his appliances and builds houses and all that. Well, see, that was kind of the norm for me growing up, because if something broke down, we really couldn't afford to just go out and buy a new one, so we had to try and fix it or do without. And that's mainly what I think we've lost through the generations, and has not, has been directed to lose. I mean, just doing things for yourself, fixing what's broken. I mean, I had a stereo system that I had set up in my room, and I had my headphones plugged up. Well, I got up with my headphones on like an idiot and dragged my stereo off. It fell off the dresser I had it sitting on and fell to the floor. It busted. Well, I'm out of stereo unless I figure out how to fix it. So I sat my butt down, and fixed it and made it work. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even have YouTube to go and look up videos for it. I was just doing trial and error, seeing if I could do it. Otherwise, I didn't have a radio. I'd have to go sit out in my car to listen to the music. And I couldn't have that. So that's a skill that everybody has well, not everybody, but mostly everyone has just given up on. If it breaks, throw it away. Get a new one. And that's the problem. My little side, rant is done. Next.
Yeah, if I may, just to touch on what you said last there. The other piece to that is the conditioning that's gone on in society to just accept the fact. Am I coming through clear? Hear me?
You're loud and clear, 5x5.
All right. The other piece of that is that we've all become complacent or accepting of the fact that things don't last, and we're just gonna have to get the next upgrade, or it's just gonna have to be thrown away, and we'll have to buy a new one.
Well, that
And
brings.
that's
Sorry.
a whole, yeah. Just one sec. That's a whole mindset of its own. And it's like I was referring to earlier, is being conditioned to be that consumer-based society instead of that innovative society. We essentially, one of the tools that's getting used is just making folks complacent to the fact that they just got to suck it up, throw it away, and buy a new one. And
Yeah.
that's half the problem. Yeah, you'll go ahead.
Hold on just a second,
Thank
Sean.
you.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Moonlight Gypsy. Good evening to you. Glad to see you. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, welcome. I just seen Moonlight Gypsy was in, so I was going to acknowledge her presence. And also, to augment what Hayden is saying, we have a term, called complacency. And I actually, in my head, while Hayden was, formulating his thought, I was like, we have a complacency of complexity. As in, my gosh, this is too complex for me to fix, and I can't take it back to the factory. So we do toss it out. That stereo, Vex, that you broke, probably dozens of times simpler to fix than the modern stereos that they have to put Bluetooth in, they have to put a bass boost in, that has to have all these bells and whistles versus, hey, is it a stereo? Great. Does it have a tape player port? Great. Or a CD player on top? Great. After that, again, how much more do people need? Now you got to be able to walk away from it, and now you got to be able to carry the speakers with you, and they have to be Bluetooth and wired into your computer. If you've ever seen the movie 12 Monkeys, where Brad Pitt has his rant about all the stuff you're supposed to buy, it's kind of like that. It's like they literally are trying to drive us insane, and if you're not a good consumer, then you're the crazy person. Never mind. His character is supposed to be nuts, but he's one of the most sound or sane characters in that whole film.
Yeah. Real quick. Hello, Rhyme of the Ancients. I always get that wrong right off the bat. Rhyme of the Ancients. Hey, Susanna, how you doing? Good to see you. I was in listening to you earlier when you were doing the reading. It's awesome. I got to go back and listen to the whole thing. I wasn't able to talk to you in chat or nothing.
Oh, that reminds me, as a silly thought, Vex, the It's Not Yours to Give reading you did, we might have to revisit that. I actually realized we could formulate that into kind of like an audio stage play, have the parts assigned. Just a thought, by the way. So
Ooh.
It just came back to me, because you have there's
a radio screenplay.
Patriot Radio Theater.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. I like
PRT. I just made that up.
That's great. Actually, I like that a lot.
Ooh,
Yeah,
do it, Sean. Do it. That'd be awesome.
PRT,
Complete with inflection.
PRT, that sounds like a party.
No, PRT, not CRT. Patriot Radio Theater, not Critical Race Theory. Big difference. But that I've always been a fan of the historical reenactments, so I was thinking if Vex would read this part, and then Rebel Jack's reading that part, or whatever, or these people are reading these parts. We could do that to different documents, and actually, that would yield insight, because people then wouldn't hear it as one person monologuing. They would hear. I wonder, for example, if there's something that could be done with that, with the. Don't know if it could be done so much with the Declaration of Independence. I think most of that was penned by Jefferson and Madison, but there could be other documents outside of the founding documents that could be done like that, or different speeches and things. So anyway, that idea put in the back pocket for later. the trick is we're going to have to bring things from the past into the modern era because this globalist shutdown, it's not just our country. Sage was pointing that out. Even China's got ships around Shanghai that are stockpiled high, and India, and Yemen, and the Persian Gulf, and the Suez Canal, Panama Canal has ships stockpiled. So they're doing what you call vertical integration. They're trying to collapse the whole world so they'll control when the world gets quote unquote reopened. Well, if we are already opened amongst each other and trading amongst each other, we're not going to care when they reopen. We'll be like, yeah, that's great. We're still not buying your stuff.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to teach our kids, though, in the next generation to have that can-do independent mindset. Not the, oh my gosh, I don't got the newest PlayStation and the newest Xbox, and the newest download. And, I can do virtual reality while I'm in TikTok, and people will watch me playing on TikTok and, all these other platforms. It's like, okay, cool. You're streaming, whatever. Are you really doing anything that's going to make you have a career? For every PewDiePie, there's how many people that whatever they do, that's the best way I could sum it up about a lot of the gamers out there that want to stream their content. It's like, yeah, you're on D Live, Twitch, whatever, for free. Nope. Yeah, not going to make money doing that, son.
Yeah, real quick. Hey, Savvy Music Studios. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun project to do, and I think it would also be a good learning experience for people. To have some kind of radio skit type thing going on the Patriot subjects. I think that'd be awesome, and that's just great. Good idea. But I mean, when I was younger, I didn't spend a lot of time watching TV. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents and my parents working on the garden and learning how to do things. And, my dad taught us how to build a radio a long time ago. I don't remember how, but I mean, he would bring home like kits from Radio Shack. When we were little kids, that's what we were doing. We weren't messing around with watching TVs and the latest board games and stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of that stuff. We had Scrabble and Monopoly, and that was it. We didn't get any fancy toys.
Well, it was the space race era, and that we as a country realized we might not survive if the Soviets were able to take over the skies. So I want to say the Salt Lakers has a really great point. If your idea of capitalism depends on cheap products made by children in a communist country, you may want to evaluate.
Amen.
That is so nails it on the head right there.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful comment. We should be going back to doing all that ourselves.
Absolutely.
That much more.
We got people here that can make their own stuff and make their own products. We've got to buy from them. The hell with all this other stuff. Stop going to Walmart. I don't go to Walmart no more. That's because they make slaves out of people making that stuff. I watched programs where they had people working there, and then they had to stay in the company buildings, and there were lousy housing. Those people got no life. I mean, it's horrible, And then you get other people and China and all, and they're living on high on the hog. So it's the same thing here as there is there, only it's worse there because these people making these products, they're treated like slaves. Bad.
And if you speak out, the government corrects you. Here we have a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah.
So, Salt Lakers, I learned that my iPhone was made by child labor on my iPhone. Yeah, isn't that the catch-22? So, I was having such hope, for example, that Liberty phone or whatever that came out, only then to find out it was outsourced. And it was just, a young entrepreneur trying to brand the name. But had
Yeah.
he been, up front and maybe had American made, contracted parts, I would have been down for that.
Yeah.
Also, for those of you who are in the chat below, the StreamYard link has been posted above. We'll post it again from time to time. This is more of a round table panel tonight about, if we have obsolescence planned for our technology and for our people, how do we regain it? My proposal is taking things from the past, bringing them into the present. I often joke that our founders pulled off 1776 with a quill and parchment. And to be honest, if you had the will to do it, you could do that. Just the people using, faster communication methods might be a step ahead of you. But that would be
Yeah.
why you'd have to, of course, mislead them and do move and counter move. Let's see here. Veritas,
Well,
working for Walmart sucked, and doing tech support for Apple sucked. Oh, I don't even want to imagine what that was like.
yeah. Well, that kind of brings me back to something I was wanting to say earlier. See, the trends of the technology, it comes in waves. And you know how it increases exponentially. But what really drew the public in were the phones themselves. Now, as great as computers were and how fast they basically became mainstream, they were still home based. The phones are what opened up everybody's eyes to this instant convenient, instant gratification culture. And this is the point I always try to make is we have to get away from using our phones for everything. One of the things I started the broadcast out with Sean was talking about his phone and how he does basically everything on his phone. You need to get away from this. Everybody does because this is their form of control. I mean, they're going to try and implement all this stuff through the phones because everybody has to have one now. Now, they do these little things. We were just talking about the throwaway culture that we have. These phones are no different. We may see them as expensive pieces of technology, but they're really not. The only thing expensive about them is the components themselves that are put in. The technology is actually old. It's dirt old. It's just been every time they come out with a new one, it is just a slight tweak, but or rather, maybe even it's an update that they implant more stuff into your phone to keep everything locked up. They shouldn't have to update this stuff this much
No.
unless they're doing it for nefarious purposes. So these phones, we allow them to take so much control over our lives. Well, I have to say, not necessarily me, but most everyone else. I mean, you carry it with you everywhere, everywhere, and you do everything on it. Even when you're at home, you're sitting there and you're staring at it. I mean, I'm just guessing because, quite frankly, I don't do that at all. My phone's at least 5 feet away from me right now. And the only reason why I take it with me is in case my truck breaks down while I'm running around. That's it. That's all it is to me. It's just a phone. But everybody else uses it as a mainstay of technology that well, quite frankly, puts you into a catatonic state which enhances the dumbing down of our society. We have to get away from this. I know it sucks hearing it, and people will fight it to the death, but it has to be done. This is a technology that we are obviously not ready for as a whole, because quite frankly, we've swallowed it hook, line, and sinker.
Well, people my age, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, we had the phones with the cords and the rotary dial, and that didn't stop us from living, you know. But the thing is, when you get that stuff, you go out more and you meet your people more rather than sit home looking at them damn screens.
Yeah, the last place I wanted to be was sitting at home or anything like that. I was always
Oh,
out doing something.
hmm
And it didn't matter that there was a computer or even a video game system at sitting at my house. I didn't want to sit in the house. I wanted to be outside, running
well, that
around, doing my thing.
that Pac-Man came out when I was younger. I think I was in college or something. whatever it was. And I didn't play those games. I never went out and got that set. I had too many damn things I wanted to do besides sit playing that stuff. I played that Pac-Man once, once with some friends when I went away with some friends. But otherwise, it's like, what the hell do I want one of that for? One or practical.
Nah, yeah, I'm not saying that I never, played video games. I did, of course. I was a kid, and they were coming out, and they were brand new whenever I was growing up. So, yeah, it was one of those things. But I didn't get attached to them the way that, well, a lot of kids did.
Yeah,
My generation and younger, because they grew up with them.
yeah,
And whenever can't really do nothing after school, and your friends are doing whatever they're doing, and you're sitting at home, play a video game. I mean, it was
yeah.
just, it's like my generation growing up in front of the TV set,
hmm
and learning from it. It was the same thing, just a different form of it. And everybody knows the video games themselves. It's the same thing with the phones. You get so engrossed in the screen that you don't hear the house could be burning down behind you and you wouldn't notice.
Yep.
People watching their phones walk into manholes that are uncovered. Just
It amazes me. I go to drive downtown in the next city, and there's one particular street, Market Street. I go drive down Market Street, and people do not look up from their phones. They walk right out in front of cars. I think it's a miracle more people haven't been killed. I'm always afraid I'm going to hit somebody on that street because they just step out and they don't even look up. It's
welcome,
amazing.
Moonlight Gypsy. Go ahead, Scotia.
Hi.
Sorry.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to
How's
meet you,
everybody?
Moonlight Gypsy.
Nice to meet you too.
So,
How's
what do you
everybody
think?
doing?
Not
Doing
bad.
good tonight.
Hello,
Good.
nice to meet you. I was grabbing caffeine.
And just waiting to add a small soliloquy on this modern phone issue, and that the people who are using the phones for everything, often it's a income issue, and that once if you're financially in that situation where you can't afford a lot of things, you use the phone because you don't want to have your cable separate, your phone line separate, all these other services separate. So phones have gotten so advanced now that they are multiple services in one. So what Vex is saying is, yeah, they've made it all in one. In my line of work, I have to keep the phone with me, not just to call the police, but that's how we clock in. Is we call in, and lo and behold, they get our phone number and they know we're on site, and then we clock out with our phone as well. So this phone is with me versus using a phone of the office of the client, because the client may not want us fumbling around their desk in the office, give or take. So
Welcome,
in some
Susanna.
jobs, welcome Susanna and all that. And some
Hello.
jobs they want it
Hi,
to be.
Susanna. Hello.
Hi, Susanna.
Hello.
I'll chime in. Hello to
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt
I
anyone.
apologize.
That's all right. Go
No,
ahead,
I'm
Sean.
trying to be polite and not talk over the ladies that are coming on the panel. But that's the thing, is that even some of the jobs are making it kind of a prerequisite that you bring the phone with you, and those employers may not even know that they're unintentionally helping the globalists keep that phone in our pocket. So if I could leave the phone at home, I would. I'd love to have silence all night at work and just read. But since I don't, I get on to panels with my fellow like-minded patriots and discuss the information of the day with them and make myself productive that way. I liken
Right.
it this way, and Vex, you might appreciate this in terms of if you add a little bit of spirituality to it. If you've ever seen Superman, and Superman's supposed to be a template for the Ubermensch, from Friedrich Nietzsche and all that. In the comics, they had it when he gets his super hearing, he can hear everyone chattering at once. And they've done this in the movies too, where they reflect that he can't filter it. It drives him mad. And so eventually he has to either go up in the atmosphere and leave Earth, or he has to, find other ways to drown it out and then focus. That's what cell phones are doing to us. We as a people they killed the hippie movement and all that. The idea that we could all be on the same page and vibe with each other through a spiritual, personal connection, the commune or the campouts, the concerts, the events as a community all together. They got rid of that spiritual human element. And they said with technology, you can all be together at once. But in this case, we're all together and it's all noise. It's all background chatter. And then, little alcoves like us, we come together and we get kind of aligned on the same frequency. And thus we're able to, kind of focus. If you look at some of the streams that are out there, they're absolute jumbled chaos, and that's what it's like without folks with similar values coming together. They won't even have a discussion. They'll just talk over each other. So ladies, I do apologize, but I kind of wanted to put that Superman analogy at the end of the points about the phones inadvertently being required before I yielded the floor. Red Vex or whomever.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Moonlight Gypsy, you came up here first. What do you think about what we're talking about? I know you just recently got in, but everybody's got an opinion.
Well, I was thinking that the thing that concerns me with all of this is that the generations that are coming up now, even in their 20s and stuff, they're lacking in social skills, eye contact, handshaking. They can't even do job interviews, and they have no social skills even with their peers, and that's all going to be lacking, and makes you wonder what's going to happen when these people are all in our society and they have absolutely no way of socializing with anyone because they are attached to these phones. And everything, gaming and everything they do is they don't have to have real human to human contact anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very scary what it's going to do to us as humans.
Yeah.
And civilization. I mean, it's going to be very, very concerning to see what happens.
And that's something that we're kind of focused on here is trying to teach what should be taught instead of what's being forced upon these kids. They're basically learning to live in a virtual world, and quite frankly, they can't be productive members of society if you live in a totally virtual world. It can't happen. We'll all end up in pods like the Matrix.
Right. Well, if you've noticed, even after the lockdowns and everything, how bad it is just to get anything done, no matter what it is. I don't care if you're calling the electric company or a medical office or the schools or banking, anything you do, you cannot get anybody to complete the task correctly. I've had so many issues with so many things. I'm just amazed of the people that they're hiring to do any of these things. It just seems worse since the lockdowns, because I think they're just hiring anybody to replace the people that left.
No, I actually have direct knowledge for something like that. In my job, I'm a janitor. I'm a supervisor, so I train the people to do the job so that I don't get yelled at by my boss. And I can guarantee you, for the past, it's almost been 10 years now. It has basically been like pulling teeth to get these people to do simple things like vacuum a floor. Now, when somebody says vacuum this floor, it means all the floor, that has carpet. These people go, well, I did most of it. This type of thinking. Everything, I had to instruct this one person to basically, she had to redo the vacuuming. And she thought I was picking on her because I was making her do her job.
Well, yeah. God forbid you do that.
Yeah. It's totally absurd in my mind. I'm very logical in my base, and she just went totally freaking emotional on me. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're doing. Could you please vacuum the floor? I don't care that you're crying. I don't. Do your job so I can go home.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. These people don't have basic knowledge of just work ethic.
No.
Or knowing how to open a damn can.
Yeah.
It drives
And
me
this
crazy.
this is our future.
Yeah, there's going to be some harsh realities coming up real soon.
Oh, I think so. And my
Yeah.
children are, I have a 32-year-old, a 30, and a 27-year-old, and they've been working since they were very young. Since before they were even teenagers, they would do even odd jobs, the lawn mowing for the neighborhood, the snow
Hmm.
shoveling, the raking, everything. They always had to earn money. And even if I could afford something, if I thought it wasn't within reason, I would make them pay the difference. So if my son wanted $70 skateboard shoes and I thought 30 was reasonable for skateboarding shoes, he had to come up with the other money, whether it was raking yards or shoveling, whatever he had to do to make that money. So my kids have always worked. And so now they're older and they're extremely responsible and they can't even stand their own generation. And they are like, we can't handle it. They have no idea what it's like in the real world, any of them. And they complain about everything these kids do, that they're in their own age group. They're like, we can't handle it. Because I didn't let them do that. I didn't let them be entitled and let them slack. They had to work. They had to figure things out. And I'm so glad I did.
Absolutely. And that's the way everybody should be treating their kids. I mean, as a whole. I mean, as I'm not a parent, but from the outside looking in, I can say this. It is the parent's job to teach the child what it needs to be a functioning, productive member of society. That is the job of a parent in general. Now,
Yep.
love and all support and all that stuff go right with it because that's a part of it. But your job is to make that kid prepared to walk on his own so it can fly out of the nest. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
if that child becomes productive and a happy person, you won. You did your job, you did it well, and that kid can handle anything that's thrown at him.
Yeah. I
And
used to
that's the
always
way.
make them run into the bank and like make loan payments. I'd make them go into the electrical company, pay the electric bill. I'm like, no, you're going to have to figure these things out. And they're like, I can't do it. I'm like, no, you're doing it. You're going in there and you're paying this bill and you tell them, just hand it to them. All you have to do is, say, here is my parents' bill, because I wanted them to be able to do life things that, to make them functional.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. And that produces people that are functional and able to
Yeah.
do things even abstractly. And then they teach their children to do the same thing, and that's how, well, basically America started. Now we need to get right back to it. And I'll go ahead and jump over to Susanna. What's your 2 cents on this?
I pretty much the same as Moonlight. I have kids around the same ages as hers, and when I first started seeing these things happening, I didn't know what was happening, but it, and even then it angered me. And this was in the early 90s. I started going to their schools more often. I was there all the time. I was on the school boards. I saw how useless it didn't matter whether it was public or private school, how, it was on the inside. I did not agree with it. They got angry with me at one point and basically challenged me and said, if you're so smart, you do it yourself.
Huh.
So I homeschooled my kids for a year, and they did not like it when they went back 2 years ahead of what they were before. They were
Huh.
not happy. I taught my kids to write cursive because that's when they stopped doing that in some of the schools. They, to this day, still write in cursive, and they when my daughter went to college, it was like a whole other language, and she had people hating her because they couldn't copy her work. They had no idea what she was writing, and you know, and and now she has two jobs. She full-time jobs. She was a mechanic. She works on cars, and she works at Victoria's Secret. Um,
I like that.
yeah, on the other spectrum of it. I mean,
Yep.
she is good at what she does. She, you know, uh, especially her being a girl in what's going on right now, and my boys. My oldest one lives with his father right now. Um, so they're off doing their own thing, but my other son, he does when he can't stand it either, and neither can she. They do the same exact thing Moonlight's kids do. They complain about why are they doing this? Why are they acting like this? This um, this is just crazy. I mean, they don't understand it either because of the way that I raised them. Um, to look at the world and to live in the world and to be able to survive in this world. And so to them, it's like, they come home, same thing. And it's like, Mom, uh, it's just nuts what they're doing and what, how they're acting. And why would they do that? They're messing up, you know, their own selves and they don't even know it. And it's just to be here and be proud of your own children and say, yeah, that might be happening. But I also teach them that, maybe some of these people, because they even have close friends they grew up that are just totally, they get along with them, but they're totally different.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
not, they're not the same. And oh yeah, yeah, they're um, they, uh, for an example, my daughter, before one of her jobs that she has now, she was a supervisor at another place, and same thing that Vex said. You know, uh, the girl, there was a guy, and he went to her supervisor and said, "She doesn't like me. She's making me do work." And oh my gosh, yeah, the things that are happening now. I mean, you're not we're not just seeing it ourselves, but those of us that have taught our kids to be um productive in society are coming back and saying the same thing and seeing the same things.
Yeah, positive reinforcement goes a long way with your kids. That's for sure. And quite frankly, what you're touching on right now is actually a good point. Um, the school systems, are they teaching your kids what they need to know to be a productive member of society? Well, on the top of it, I'd have to say no. So therefore, what are they actually teaching them? Well, I would wager that it's not anything to be a productive member of society, is it? So why are they here? Why are they still doing it? They're obviously working directly against you and what you may want with your kids. Hey, Callie, good to see you. And
Kelly,
it,
hi Kelly.
Mhm.
but they don't want you to have another generation of productive people, and so they have done this. Yet everybody still generally sends their kids to these schools that teach them nothing but how to be whiny little bitches, to put it bluntly. And it's not doing anyone any good, especially not the kids. And then the parents have to deal with it when they get home. Now, why would you send your kids directly into that? I mean, I'd understand if you didn't love your kids. I mean, that'd be a good way to torture them for the rest of their life and scar them. But yet, are you too busy at your job? Well, I'm sorry, but the way things are going, they're going to make you lose your job too.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want us doing anything that makes us better. So we have to basically do it ourselves. And like I was saying earlier, we have to go down to our county level to do this. The power of the parent is so so magnificently huge. Get together with other parents, talk to them, let them know exactly how you feel about the situation that's going on, and ask them if they enjoy what their kids are learning right now versus what used to be taught. I mean, hell, quite frankly, homeschools have been better schools from the get go because that's the way it was from the beginning. You weren't sent to a school unless it was like a church slash school.
Or a
It was
guild.
about the
You're
community.
taught a trade.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may have if they did send you, usually it was an apprenticeship to a guild, and you were taught that trade and also the trade secrets. And that's actually the roots of different secret societies, such as, Freemasons or
Mm.
Masons, traditionally, and architects, that sort of thing.
May
I
I?
just wanted to note too, Salt. 1 second, Scripture. Salt Lakers had a really great comment, and I have to admire that hustle at all cost mentality regarding that lemonade stand being shut down. Sometimes
Yeah.
some of the comments are really great zingers. Love it. Go ahead, Scripture.
Well, I was watching another YouTube channel, and there was a fellow that he had a cattle ranch with cowboys and all, and they did that kind of stuff. Actually, I was watching two of them, and one of them had a little child. I don't know, maybe it was like 11 or 10 or 11. And that kid, he was teaching every aspect of the business. And that kid, that's all he wants to do. He's so happy with it, going out and dealing with that. And there was another one with little, I mean, and his father schooled him on everything. Did homeschool, regular school, and also taught him every aspect of the business, including all the paperwork and stuff. Now, there was another town that was failing, and there was a few kids in that town, and there's a cattle rancher there started a school for them. So they get their regular school there, and then they learn all the husbandry of dealing with the cattle, and they're out riding and doing whatever cowboys do. But all these kids are learning every aspect of the business, even down to selling them and auctioning and all kinds of stuff like that. It was fascinating. I mean, where are these opportunities here for our kids here? I mean, we got the tech schools, but there should be more of that stuff all over this nation. Okay, I'm going to shut up. I yield.
Excellent point.
Mhm.
Definitely an excellent point. I mean, the tech schools themselves, they're a good idea and everything, but they're looked upon, they're frowned upon. You're lower class if you go apart, into that. I think that's the most ridiculous thing. I've always thought that it was the most ridiculous thing because, quite frankly, all the jobs that were all the ones that everybody looked at as, oh, good job to have was all the ones where you basically sat at a desk and did nothing but push papers.
Yeah,
And that is just absolutely ridiculous to me because that's not real work. Sure, you can get a mind workout, but what are you learning? How are you expanding your mind that way? Sure, you might have to do a little problem solving, but you're going to turn into an atrophied person after a while. And
yeah.
that's what they're looking forward to is getting us all atrophied. That's why every day I go walking at very least. I mean,
hmm
being productive means more than just, thinking a lot. It means doing. And that's what we have to keep teaching everyone.
Well,
Anybody else?
I think the trade schools are awesome. By the way, I wish there was
Absolutely.
more of them. I'm going to shut up. I yield.
I think we should
Yeah,
I
change
same.
put my son
those
through eating an AC school.
uh, Missouri1.
Uh, well, just on that last comment, that's awesome. There's a old saying, you know, if you learn a skilled trade, you'll always have a job. You'll always have work. Uh, and it's even more self-evident today. Um, but this this is all kind of going back to what I was saying earlier on tonight. Was our society's being conditioned to be a society of nothing but consumers, a society of people who are absolutely reliant upon others, the goods of others, the skills of others, and etc. My grandfather, actually great grandfather, he got married, and my great grandmother, when she got pregnant, he wasn't making enough money, so he the only extra time that he had to work was in the morning, as well as maintaining his other jobs. So he picked up a paper route so he could support that child. Well, baby was born, and it still turned out not to be enough. So his wife, my great grandmother, started baking pies while he was at work, and he would take pies with him on his paper route and go selling these pies at every stop on his paper route. Well, after a few months, my great grandmother couldn't make enough pies because the pies were in such high demand, and it turned out to be more profitable than his paper route. So what my great grandfather did was he quit both his jobs, and they both started making these pies.
Aw,
That's
And
awesome.
eventually
I love that.
eventually evolved into a company where they started making pie preserves, fillings, jellies, all kinds of stuff. And that got passed down to my grandfather. And they became very successful, even to the point that when Five and Dime opened in Bentonville, Arkansas, Sam Walton came to my grandfather and asked him if he wanted to invest in Five and Dime. And for anybody who doesn't know what Five and Dime is, that is what the original chain was before it turned into Walmart. And my grandfather turned him down, and he said, "No, I really don't want to invest. I'm sorry." A few months later, Sam Walton came back. He said, "We're opening up 2 more stores. We'd love to have you invest." Turned him down again.
Oh man.
The third time,
Well,
about half a year or so, maybe a whole year later, he came to my grandfather again and said, "Hey, we're getting ready to open up our 10th store. Would you like to invest?" My grandfather felt bad for him and wanted him to quit knocking on his door. So he invested in Five and Dime, and if you just look at both of their work ethics, whether you like or don't like what Walmart has become or what Five and Dime has become, which I don't. I'm not a huge fan of it, or really a fan of it at all. But those two men are a perfect example of why it is so important to be a go-getter and to get up and just do what needs to be done. You know, my great grandfather wasn't looking to start a huge pie company and become wealthy. He was just trying to provide for his wife and child, and it
If I
turned out
may, Hayden,
quite well for him. Yeah.
if I may, Hayden, are you saying he was looking for a way out of a jam?
Oh,
Yes. He was looking for a way out of a jam and found a way to preserve that way to being out of a jam. How about that?
I lined up the T-ball and he hits it out the park.
But anyways, we've evolved into this society of consumers, and we're at the point of where we're suffering the consequences of being a society of consumers, and therefore, you know, being that society of people who are basically helpless, we're witnessing the downfall of everything else. So the subtle small things that we notice now have progressed into even bigger things and will continue to progress until we examine the situation in its entirety and root out the problem or the problems or source of these problems. So yes, while it's healing to talk about the smaller things, we really got to take a step back and find the source of this, of all of these issues. I yield.
Well, if I may, there's a comment by Okie Dean right now where Okie Dean reflects on having tools for multiple refrigerator brands, and then now there's a lot fewer of those refrigerator brands. Now, depending on Okie Dean's level of expertise, an opportunity exists there of bringing back those retro refrigerators. Also, if I may, it sounds like someone has a radio in their background or some feedback. If they want to mute their mic, they're welcome to. But there's an opportunity in that besides restoring old, refrigerators, could someone, based on the tools and the machinery and the general concept of a refrigerator, create a new brand of refrigerator, has all the quality of the old ones that don't quit no matter what, but meets, whatever the current standards are that they're going to force on you regardless. It's an interesting opportunity. And I bring that up in terms of the tools to just let you know, earlier in the call, I referenced the SR-71 Blackbird. They actually made the tools for that aircraft top secret as well. The very wrenches and the gauges and every piece of equipment used to construct and maintain those planes is also classified as top secret, because they don't want anyone to use the tools and reverse engineer is the term I'm looking for, reverse engineer what they may have been used on to construct such a plane. So let's take that idea to the refrigerators. If the refrigerators have, say, a bolt that's 1/8 of an inch, you could say, okay, it was needed for these points on, say, a piece of sheet metal at these junctures, and you go from there. So it's just something I wanted to point out. There's always an opportunity. It's not so much that those brands are done or out of business. It's that now all that business that doesn't exist can go to someone else if they know how to seize it. I yield.
Excellent. I put this picture up because it seemed like it was relevant. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Now, we are here. Let's do better. We're about to go into this.
May I?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. I would agree with you in that that picture you got there, we are at the point of hard times. So let's become the strong men to hopefully not completely recreate this cycle, but to create the good times. And going back to what Sean said about the refrigerators and those special tools for those uh, outdated refrigerators or no longer being manufactured refrigerators. Um, the cool thing about tools, and now that I don't only turn wrenches, I work in a machine shop, so I can build tools and all kinds of stuff. The key thing that I've realized is you only need a basic, certain set of tools to be able to get to the point to where you can build anything. And like Sean was saying, all it takes is a little bit of research or looking into, and you can greatly benefit from somebody selling out on their own ideas or concepts by basically taking a basic set of tools and figuring out how to make the tools that they used, or how to acquire the tools they used, and create something of the same quality or even better. Um, sorry, I got sidetracked. Something shiny just drove by. But
Squirrel.
in a nutshell, yeah, exactly. In a nutshell, all we need is the basic tools. That screwdriver, the drill, hammer, basic set of sockets, and you create.
Basic tools, huh? You mean like a Declaration of Independence and the Constitution? Ah, I see what you did there.
Yes.
Just saying.
May I?
Yeah, just one last comment. Sean helped me kind of bring that full circle there. It's again, like I was saying earlier, is taking a step back and examining where the root of all of these issues are coming from. And I think it's safe to say we can all acknowledge the fact that the powers that be are not following the rules, and our basic set of tools would be, aka the Declaration and Constitution. So let's figure out how to use those tools, how to implement them, and fix our broken refrigerator.
May I?
Go ahead, please.
I loved what you say there, Hayden. Well, everybody knows who's got tools or use tools. That the best tools in the world are the tools we make ourselves right here. And, you get tools that are from China and all, they bust. I had a rake.
Yes.
I had a rake one time, a brand dang new rake. It wasn't made in the United States, unfortunately. And I went to do some no, no, a pitchfork, excuse me. And I went to pitch out some weeds in the garden and move some plants around, and that handle of that rake just busted. And, I look at that, excuse me, that pitchfork, and I have older tools that were probably my grandfather's, made in this country, and you can't break them no matter what you do. So, we have a constitution. It ain't broken. It ain't broken. It's still there and it's still good. You know, and whether our government chooses to put it in the trash like the old refrigerators or an old phone or something, you know, we don't have to go by that. We can pick it right the hell back up, just like some refrigerator or car in the junkyard, and make it brand new again and use it. It's still there. I yield.
Excellent. Yeah, we're going to have to go back to the old ways, one way or another. Unfortunately, but quite frankly, all this advanced tech, so-called advanced tech anyway, is not working for us. It's working against us. So all these basic tools and stuff like that, collect them because we're going to need them. Now, I'm not talking about the new impact wrenches and stuff like that, not unless you have separate power sources, of course. But we're going to need those regular hand tools, those old time tools. I mean, we're going to have to rebuild a lot of things. Would anybody else like to speak up?
Well, I was going to finish off that in terms of the tools. In my background, we ourselves are the tools in terms of our timing, our athleticism, etc., but also our clarity of mind. So it's up to you. Keep your mind sharp and be a sharp tool, or you could be that dull tool that nobody in the shed has any purpose for, and eventually you're going to be covered in rust and corrosion and broken. So keep yourself and your wits sharp about you. And all you patriots out there, it's 11:04 p.m. Pacific time. Do you know where your children are?
Sorry.
Hello,
I
welcome
do.
back. Gypsy, check the private message. See if that can get you the meme.
Oh, everything is gone from previous
Oh, that's right.
because
I'll do it again.
yeah, that's okay.
All right, there you go. See if you can do a little copy paste magic or something.
Okay, I can try that. Thank you.
No problem. But yeah, that brings me towards talking about people standing up for themselves and doing what's right. Becoming essentially sorry, was somebody else about to talk, or was that just feedback?
Feedback.
Okay. But essentially, it's making... I lost my train of thought. Damn. Hey, anybody else want to jump up and save me? Guess not.
It was the you're going for the tools analogy, Vex, and that's where my brain kind of just clicked off too. Darn it!
It's a black hole of thought. But yeah,
Maybe
we're gonna...
Well,
Maybe.
if you notice everything that's coming out recently, nothing is holding up or working properly, or anything you get from the store.
Mm-hmm.
It's all messed up. I don't know who's putting them together, but it's either missing parts or it doesn't align correctly, or you have to take it back. And I've noticed that a lot.
Yeah, by design.
Yeah.
It's all the shoddy workmanship. I mean, we've already talked about it. As far as China goes, China #1 is screwing us over, and a lot of this stuff will come from them, and we'll have the missing parts and all that stuff, and you have no way of basically making them bring the parts to you or send them to you or anything. And So what do? I mean, you could say it's missing a wheel. We can make a new wheel. I mean, before it wouldn't have bothered us. Oh, it's something that's broken, so I have to fix it before I can use it. Well, just be like, well, I got to fix it or take it back. Well, I like the piece, so I'm going to fix it. That is lost because everybody throws everything away. Um, our landfills, I mean, everybody knows our landfills are full as hell. We're looking for more places to bury stuff. I mean, the trash society that we developed is no good for anyone. And it's all consumer society and mixed with the service society so that we don't have any of those jobs that use those tools. And we really have to get back to the basics. I mean, I keep on harping about the phones, but it's one of my pet peeves. I hate them. I really, really hate them. They're made to hurt us in every way. And
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. And the fact that having these phones being so attached to them is obviously doing damage to our social skills. And I think the icing on the cake of that statement or argument is the fact there's Obama phones. I mean, the government will literally provide people with cell phones. Now it's at the point where these cell phone companies or providers or whatever will give you a free phone. It's blatant. It's obvious. It's part of the scheme. It's the method of delivery of all of the distractions and to keep people focused on non-important things.
Hmm.
I mean, so much to the point where we're at a point in this country where basically nobody approves of the CEO of the USA. Okay,
Hmm.
I mean, no, I don't think I've come across anybody in the last 5 months that was pro for that guy.
Brandon.
Yeah, and well,
Let's go, Brandon.
the the sad thing is that something like a chant, "Let's go, Brandon," or the pranks that people can pull on whoever at whatever store or airport or whatever to get somebody to say "Let's go, Brandon" on an intercom or stadiums chanting "Let's go, Brandon" is it's funny, but at the same point in time, it's not because it shows how much dissatisfaction there is with the powers that be, and how it also shows how well their plan is working because everybody wants to watch Let's Go Brandon videos. Nobody wants to look at the founding documents that these people are supposed to be subject to get these I'll be nice with my words, donkeys out of office. I mean,
Um,
it's completely it's sad. It is it's so sad and slightly disheartening because, yeah, everybody is showing their opinion, but everybody is so stupid that they're more interested in a chant saying "Let's go, Brandon," or probably even to the point where they'll go and buy a Chinese-made product that somebody slapped a sticker on that says "Let's go, Brandon," than actually looking into how to fix the issue.
Yeah.
So how these basic tools that we've been talking about, quit yelling "Let's go, Brandon," quit liking whatever on social media supporting this "Let's go, Brandon." It's funny, but we've all made our points clear. Everybody's got a distaste for this, and everybody is suffering at these people's hands. So let's use these basic tools to fix the broken, insert whatever metaphor or item that could be broken. I yield.
I I I, I agree and I disagree because on one hand, this specific thing. All right, this is where I'm coming from. On Fox News Radio, I heard something along the lines of 37% is Brandon's approval rating,
Yep.
and that to me, I mean, just looking at past history of what's reported in the media, you can basically take, oh, we'll just say 30 points away from that. I mean, they skew the numbers. Now, on top of that, the chant itself, I think it's an awesome thing. I think it's a living meme. And they did it on accident, which people ran with. So, in this regard, I think it's a very good thing because it's getting the regular person to make it okay to say, fuck Joe Biden. And that is good because that makes it good and fun to stand against the man, or to put it personally, the corporation.
Which has no standing in this case. But Styx Hexenhammer even pointed out it's mimetic warfare, and it's perfect because we had the meme wars in 2016, and now they're back. So,
and now it's out in real life.
Yep. Take what they give you and use it.
Exactly that. We can build off it.
Well, he had a whole generation of young folks on his side voting for him, and now it's bringing awareness that maybe it's not so cool. Maybe
Exactly.
they'll actually open their eyes to their own future. I mean, hopefully they'll prove us that they're not that dumb.
Well, in addition, real quick, I'll say this. In addition, it takes a little bit of the fear away because they're able to have an outlet. Go ahead, Hayden.
Yeah. Well, I was just pointing out that this, yes, it's good to see and hear other people voice their opinion on such a scale. But at the same point, I don't think the corporation really cares because the people chanting this, for the most part, have no clue on what needs to be done to actually solve this.
May I? If I may, Canada
Please,
banned the
go ahead.
chant. They also announced Canada banned the chant and announced a ban on memes about 48 hours ago. So somebody, at least in Canada, is afraid of the people having a counterculture, having a counter movement, having their own password, having their own way to subvert the narratives. So if the Canadians are afraid, I'm pretty sure folks in the swamp are afraid as far as the governance goes. So it's the tip of the iceberg. It's the red pill. It's the unifying rally cry. Use it to bring people near you
Exactly.
because you'll
And
know they
rally.
agree with you. Think of it as Marco
Yeah,
Polo.
I like that.
It's called dueling chants. Pro wrestling, we do it all the time. Let's go so and so, and then the other crowd will chant, let's go Cena or whatever, and you duel the chants. Remember Vex 2 years ago? I told Rebel Jack we need to make wrestling chants for this stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. I told you it would come. It needed to be done. It's being done.
And now it can be altered
Yes.
to make it homey for your individual country. In Trudeau, over in Germany, over in England.
Well, for Trudeau, it'd be "Let's go, Justin." See, fits already.
I
All
think.
right. Look, okay.
The Canadians get that for free from me. Thank you very much.
I like the complete positive outlook, and
Well, we have to turn everything into a positive. Sorry.
I know. I'm just trying to state how I see it as double-edged, but it also comes to the point that yes, we're unified in the fact that we have this dissatisfaction. Now everybody needs to get these basic set of tools and move forward instead of trying to wait on a rigged system. So yes, it's awesome to see people voicing how they feel, but it'd be way more awesome to have this movement motivate people to the point of picking up the tools to fix the problem. Is
Well, like I said,
where that's where
I
I
agree with
would
you too.
be. That's where I would be grinning from ear to ear once I knew that everybody chanting that was capable and or willing to pick up the tools. I yield.
No. Well, it's not a chant saying "Let's go assembly," but it's a start, and that's basically why I'm saying it's not a bad thing. You are right that it would be nice to have those people, critically thinking enough to, form their own governments in their areas and everything. But right now, at least the trend has been nobody was able to do this. If this same thing would have happened 4 or 5 years ago, it would not have been in stadiums. You see what I mean? There's an uptick, and people are starting to see this thing happen, and it's made it okay to say things against, the system. And that's why I say this thing is a awesome thing. It's something that can bring us together, like Sean said, a rallying point where everybody, even if they don't even know what "Let's Go Brandon" actually means, they have to go, "Hey, by the way, why were we chanting that? What happened?" And the dude goes, "Well, that means fuck Joe Biden." What? Even if it's on the left side, the guy would be like, "What? I don't want, But it gets them thinking, well, why was everybody in the stadium chanting something that I didn't know about and I'm opposed to, yet everybody else was chanting it? it gets people thinking and draws them out of their little area. It doesn't even have to be a big step out of their area, just a small step. And it's that gradualness that we're going to have to work with, and at least until we get the Smith-Mundt Act, Modernization Act, gone, because this is all we got. I mean, I don't mean to be all fatalistic, but every win is a win. Take it as such. But yes, we wish there was more critical thinking in what we need to get done, so we can have more people and actually make this all stop. But right now, we don't have that option. What we have is what we got, and we work with what we got. Memes are a hell of a way to do it. It's a great way to spread different forms of information. So we work with it the best way we can. And with that, I'll yield. Anybody want the floor?
Well, if I may, Vex, we're going on 3 hours here. And in my case, speaking of good news, I have to be up early tomorrow. I got a group of people to see, and it's not about a horse. It's about a bunch of horses, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not going to give out times or locations, but
God, I hope
big
not.
things popping again. So I got to get to bed early to wake up early. You know how it goes.
No, that's actually a good point. I usually try and keep these under, well, at least 3 hours or under, just so I can, keep people interested in actually viewing them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thank you all for coming up here. Thank you, Sean, very much. Thank you, Hayden, Missouri1. Thank you very much. Moonlight Gypsy, always a pleasure to see you. Same to you, Susanna. It's great to be hanging out with you again. Scrimsaw, thank you as always for coming up and hanging out with us. I appreciate you. And I want to thank everybody that's been in chat. You guys have been great tonight. I appreciate all the interactions we've been doing. And I want to see you guys back here on Monday when we talk about a little different things. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring her to a close. And once again, I thank you all for your participation and hope we can continue it on Monday.
Thank you, Vex.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you, Vex.
And you guys are always welcome to come back. You know that.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Yes. Be safe out there.
All right. And with
As well,
that,
good night, everyone.
all right. Thank you. And with that, I yield.
Take care.
And I tell everybody good night and sweet dreams.